let me show you what I've been working on. So this is the editor for my game. It is very simple. You have a grid here, and you have different tools. You have a pen tool, and if you press S, you have the select tool. This is basically all you have right now. With the pen tool, you can draw cells, and these cells basically show up here on the left side. And with the select tool, you can select cells. You can select multiple cells at the same time, and on the right hand side here you have properties of the selected cells. The cells also have rotation, so the rotation is shown by this little line here of the cell, and you can change the rotation, and you see now it's pointing up. Let's change it back, and you can change the color. And then you have some properties that sort of are relevant for the game itself. So you can change the mass of the cell. The mass is, well, like the physical mass. This is important because my game runs like a physics calculations, and you need a mass for that. You can tag the cells. So currently I only have two tags. It's a player tag and a portal tag. And player tag basically means that this cell is a player, and once it's a player, it can be controlled with keys. You can actually also move the cells around here in the editor, and what you see here, this circle here is the pivot point, so you can actually, you have to select it again, and then when I right click, well, seems a bit okay, weird. So when I right click, I can set the pivot point anywhere I want, and if I press R, I can rotate around the pivot point. So if I set the pivot point to the middle one here in the middle, we'll rotate around the pivot point. So we can put it. I can also put it outside, because rotation also works. And yeah, so this is basically the editor. What is important here is the group. So group means that these cells basically belong together. So I selected those cells, and now I basically said, well, -1 means they are in no group. This is sort of a placeholder value, and I can just assign all of those cells to the same group with the number 0, and now they belong to the same group. This means in the game, I will show you later, that the cell will move as one rigid body, so there will be forces between those cells. Yeah, so I'm gonna add, I have one big group here, and then let's pull this one out here and give it a different color. Make this the player, so I can control this cell now, and these are just basically single cells. They have the same color, but they are sort of individual cells. They do not belong to the same group. Let's add 2 more. Let's make those like black, and make them a portal. Now I have 2 pairs of portals, 2 and 3, and 0 and 1. Okay, let's jump into the game. Here the purple one is the player. I can move it around with arrow keys. I can push things around and push multiple things around basically. If I line things up, I can sort of push all this stuff around. Also, my levers can't always loop, so I can sort of push them outside the bounds, and they will show up at the other side, and the same for left and right. Now this one is as you remember, this one is a group, so when I push this one, this will move as a whole. So let's make a very, let's make like this sort of shape, and then let's put them in a separate group. Let's add another one, make a new group here, make them auto group 3, and let's just move those around here. Oh yeah, what I forgot to tell you is that when I double click, it will select all cells that are connected, so that's quite a handy way to sort of manipulate these items. Yeah, if I double click now, since they're all connected, all of them will be selected, and the fact that they are in the same group doesn't matter. I'm just sort of looking at neighboring cells. What I want to show you here is how forces propagate. So when I push now down, the whole thing will move, and being able to do this actually was I've spent quite a few weeks sort of thinking about this, how to sort of come up with a general system that sort of handles these cases naturally, and I don't have to sort of think about these cases. What I didn't show you yet is the portals. Yeah, so portals is basically, it just sort of manipulates space, like how space is connected, that I can go back and forth and you know go in there from different directions, and the same for this pair of portals. You have like one big object that sort of moves as one big one body. The first cell here goes through the portal, but the other cells just go to the right. So these cells now become disconnected, and so I think there's gonna be like quite some interesting interactions between these larger groups of cells and portals of different sizes. Oh wow, this fits perfectly in here. Okay, oh, yeah. See, it's already fun to just move around in this level. And I'm quite excited to sort of work on this. Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I've already implemented in another prototype. For example, that when you walk through portals, that you can change direction, right? So right now it's always basically the directions you're moving is preserved, but you can imagine that when you walk through a portal, you first were moving like in a horizontal way, and when you walk through a portal, you come out at the word moving vertically, for example. So this way you can basically rotate cells. In the long term, I definitely do want to use a game engine, mainly for the reason of platform support. So I'm not really sure which platforms I'm going to target, but using a game engine like Unity sort of gives you a lot of flexibility, and you don't have to worry too much about supporting different platforms. Yeah.